We're live.
We are live. Welcome to another edition of the Bulluminati podcast presented by, they're definitely presented by Iris 31. You'd have to ask them if they're proud of it. I won't make judgments on their behalf, but it is another edition of the Bulluminati podcast presented by Irish 31. Guys, some exciting stuff here. You guys already see that we've got a guest here tonight, but hey, USF Bulls watch parties at all six Irish 31 locations all season long. There's going to be a watch party next week at the Seminole location. Okay, and then there's going to be a Daily Stampede watch party at Irish 31 in Hyde Park on Thursday, October 28th, as the Bulls face ECU in North Carolina. So, guys, make sure you come out. We'll have more information. We'll have ticket giveaways. We'll have raffles to give away. It'll be a lot of fun. Come out and commiserate with your USF fans and friends and meet the people that you interact with on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and everywhere you go. But it's going to be a lot of fun at the Seminole location. They'll have Magic 94.9 on site for the Bulls bonus watch party with ticket giveaway, sponsor swag, and everything like that. And guys, make sure you snap a picture with Coach Scott. There's a cardboard cutout at every pub, and share to Instagram for a chance to win tickets to the next USF home game. Make sure you tag at Irish31Pub and hashtag Horns Up. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, we found out the home field discount of Daily Stampede is still active for first-time buyers. They just released Boston College and Georgia Tech over the weekend. There's still plenty of USF stuff. This is one of the most comfortable shirts I've ever worn. I've got the Robo Goat as well. I saw Nick Simon, TDS writer and DK Nation writer. He got his March Victoria shirt in today. They're coming out, guys. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you go to homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Daily Stampede for 15% off your order for first-time buyers. Now that all the legal stuff is out of the way, you see them, you know them, you either love them or hate them. Maybe you're indifferent. Maybe you're indifferent to them. But welcome to the podcast, Colin Sherwin. He's the sports editor at college sports editor at DK Nation. It's under the Vox umbrella, where I guess we're kind of work partners here, except you get all the cool stuff, and I get what I get, and I'll be happy with it.
But you have a verified Twitter account now, so thank you to Vox Media for that. Yes, they did get that done for you.
They did. I just need to get them to get my actual Twitter account verified too, and that will be all set.
Oh, I can do that.
Perfect.
I'll put you on the list. I can actually put you on the list for that. So
thank you very much. Please go ahead and do that.
It takes forever, but we will get it done for you.
I appreciate it. Colin, welcome to the podcast. It's been a few weeks.
It's been a while, buddy. It's been the last 5.5 weeks in Las Vegas. It's been warm. It's been fun. Definitely easier for my job to be on Pacific Coast time, so that I'm going to bed at a reasonable hour instead of a not reasonable hour every day. But it's been fun. But I want to add to a couple of things that you said. One, Irish 31 on the 28th. I will be there because I can walk there. That's like right over there. And it's a great bar, great spot. Support Jay Mize, who has not only supported this podcast, but is one of the OG football players from USF from the 97 team. And he's got a great spot. Drinks are cheap. Good people, good service, and it's nice to support like a community location that's like reinvesting back in the community. So definitely, if you can be there, I do have the Robo Goat shirt. I'm not wearing it right now. I'm wearing my Lightning shirt, but I do have the Robo Goat. It's fantastic. It's really super comfortable. Everything from home field I've ever gotten is terrific. So do that as well. And come to the watch party and say to my face all the shit you say to me on Twitter, assholes. Let's go. Come on, bring it. Say it. Put it here. Put it right here.
Colin, you're really old, man. I don't know if you're gonna be able to actually take all the heat that you may actually get, like in person.
Have I crossed over to old man strength yet, yo? Like, I don't know if I have. Like,
no, you haven't.
Not quite there yet.
Not there yet.
Yeah, I definitely, I wear down a little bit easier, but I just wonder if that means I have like better sprint speed. If I can really hang for 30 seconds now, I don't know.
More explosive now, right?
More explosive.
Like an offensive lineman, you just have to be fast for 3 yards.
Exactly.
So, guys, there's been some news.
What?
Yeah, according to Yahoo and other various sports outlets, the AAC has done the unthinkable. I guess the only thing after when the Mountain West says no and all the other people who you try to get say no publicly, they've basically they're examining and they're expected to accept the applications of Conference USA's Florida Atlantic, Charlotte, North Texas, University of Texas San Antonio, Rice, and UAB in the near future. Colin, those names don't really inspire me much. Am I off base there?
So, going to steal some hot takes from myself that I made earlier. Look, this is completely unacceptable in any way, shape, or form. If you're a USF fan, you've been failed. There is no reason whatsoever that this should be happening. This is as we said in our text group, Nate, this is an abdication of leadership. And it has been years and years of abdication of leadership that have brought us to this point. It's sad. It makes me very angry and frustrated. I just want to. I was screaming fire in a crowded theater for 10 years, and I couldn't get anyone to bite, and I couldn't get the right people to listen. And, we are where we are. It just sucks because I think all of us could have done a little bit more. And we didn't, and not the right people in the right places didn't pay attention. And everyone around USF should have some regrets about this. But like, if you're a fan, you should have 0.0000001% responsibility. And if you're an administrator, a dean, provost, president, athletic director, they need to take on the overwhelming majority of this responsibility as to why we're here. So Michael Kelly was part of the expansion group with the AAC, and he helped pick these 6 teams. So the analogy that I would use is he's the general manager who just inherited a first overall quarterback draft pick that is just a complete bust. And he can cut him, or he can get a 4th round pick for him. Get the 4th round pick. And that's what this is. This is like doing the best you can with the assets that you have. Block the Mountain West from expanding into Texas. Take the best schools there. Okay. Take the best markets that are available, because there is some value still in markets as far as TV and media rights. And you're getting into some cities like Dallas and Charlotte and, South Florida where there's some value there. So that makes sense to me. But blaming the guys that are here now for what has happened, this goes back years. This goes back decades. The thing that I keep pointing to is I remember after we got into the Big East in 2003, either late 3 or 04, somewhere in there when it was officially announced, we had an event at ADM, the ADM building, and they raised a Big East flag. Like how the flags, if you pull in off Fowler Avenue, like to the main entrance of campus, you go right down there. There's 3 flagpoles at the end of the dead end there. And one of them, we put a Big East flag up. And that would have been like 2004. And once that ceremony happened, we were done. We stopped investing in the program. We thought, well, we've made it. We've achieved everything we need to achieve. It's done. We don't need to grow anything. We don't need to invest anything. Athletics will take care of itself forever. And we're set. And what we learned was the Big East was an opportunity, not a destination. And we failed that opportunity so massively, so epically, that it will take decades to recover. And that's how you end up in a conference with teams like Rice and UTSA, who's very good this year, by the way. it's such a galactic failure. Like, I can't almost process it. Like, you had to hire the worst people to make the dumbest decisions with the least amount of care and investment, and overpay all of them and fail all of your stakeholders at all times. And that's just what we did. And that's why we're here. USF fans, if they check out, I don't blame them. They've been failed. They've been completely abjectly failed. And I'm still going to go to games. I'm going to Tulane this year. I'm gonna go to the watch party. I'm still going to watch USF football. But I'm going to do so with a much more jaundiced eye and with a lot more skepticism, because now they got to prove it. Like, they get no benefit of the doubt anymore. They don't deserve it. So, and that's kind of where I'm at. But blaming Michael Kelly for this makes no sense. Blaming the current folks for this makes no sense. This is a problem. This is a failure of generations. And until we install a new president, we're all just sort of sitting around in stasis. That new president will define the leadership to see if athletics is something that USF's ever going to care about again, or going to invest in again. So we're just all sort of sitting here waiting for friend of the blog, Michael Griffin, to pick a president. And then once that's done, we can start to see what happens.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it. You raised the Big East flag, and you kind of wipe your hands, clean of everything else and responsibility. And Jeff Scott mentioned it in his press conference today. This indoor practice facility, the performance facility, is the first physical investment into football in 15 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And where
wait,
people...
hold on. To be fair, we spruced up the locker rooms a little bit in Selman, and we changed the chairs from like 300-pound test chairs to 330-pound test chairs, because we had linemen who couldn't fit in the 300-pound test chairs. So we did that. And we upgraded the video equipment when the release ran out, because we went from like this service that was like new that we were like barely paying for, and then we actually upgraded to like a film cutting service that was like a little bit better. So yeah, we've done that. That's literally everything I can think of that we've invested in football in the last 15 years.
So like the normal wear and tear stuff where you just kind of actually have to do it out of necessity. Yes. But the thing, this was a long time coming. It took almost 5 years to even get to break ground on this thing. Mark Harlan he was here when it started. I remember that spring game. I think it was the spring game of 2017. Just the failures, predating Michael Kelly and Jeff Scott. It's Mark Harlan's
and predating Harlan too.
To some degree. I think most of the responsibilities on Doug and Bill and Ralph and Judy.
I agree with all of that. Yeah, I think if you had to put a list together of the top 10 people as to why we're in this place, and you got to put Skip in there too. I would put those 5 are definitely on my top 10 list for sure. And I think you probably got to put Judy and Doug as one too, in whatever order that you choose to deem. But we are where we are. And look, there's some good things that have happened at the university too. Like, we are inches away from an AAU status. We have come, the endowment is much bigger than when we got here. We do important research. We have a medical school that's fantastic that nobody can get into. It's really good, like in a lot of places. But in terms of athletics, it's been, for the last 15 to 17 years, with the exception of, 07, 16, 17, kind of fail, and one really pervertedly good men's basketball team in 2012 that came out of nowhere and had no legs, and women's basketball. And that's there's your successes. Like, literally, I think I've named golf and men's golf and softball, and one baseball team this year. That's it.
So, people can blame how Jeff Scott's handled the last couple of weeks, and he'll get his fair share of criticism on this here podcast. From myself and probably you, Colin, about the 4th and 1 call, but I mean, this stuff predates. It seems like sometimes that this program, this department was destined to fail pretty early on before these guys even had USF on their radar. So it's tough. We've used this analogy time and time again. I said it on Twitter yesterday. No one cares about your mega mansion, which is the academics portion of USF, which has been really good. Your patents, the research, AAU status nearly. That's been really great, but no one cares if your front porch is on fire and there's a rusted out Oldsmobile in the grass. And that's what athletics is for any university that's not like an Ivy League school. I know, someone pointed out like Rutgers and Illinois and Northwestern and all these really great academic schools that are known for academics. That's fantastic. They've got brand recognition through their academics. USF doesn't have that. Outside of the Tampa Bay area, no one gives a rat's ass about USF's academic status. It is. So how was how was USF? How did they play over the weekend? No one cares about how many patents you got. Like it's having the people in place that realize that like academics is still very, very important because that's what college is for. Right.
It is. No, and like I don't. That's just why I hate giving short shrift to that, because it's like we should be here. That's the reason we're here, is because theoretically we're getting young people an education and the opportunity to play sports with it and bond around the university, and then use athletics as a platform for people to say, "Oh, how's things going at the College of Business? Oh, what's going on over in engineering?" And then use that as a platform to help people come back and invest and partner with those programs. I get all that. But we haven't leveraged the platform that we had, and now it's gone away. It may never come back. And it's just it's an abdication of responsibility by so many people. Like everyone had to screw this up, and everyone screwed it up.
Yeah.
You got to blame board members too. You got to blame the board. Board's got to take some accountability here. Governor's got to take some accountability here. Not just the current one, but the old ones too. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, really, like the rise and fall here. I mean, it's like a movie. Like you this is Rocky V come to life, or like all the way. Wins the belt. Knocks off the Russian, and then and telling stories in the restaurant because he's got to feed his family. Like, this is where we're at.
Who's Tommy Gunn in this situation?
Tommy Gunn is going to be Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell is Tommy Gunn in this situation because he's the guy who just comes back and beats us up. Although he beats him at the end, doesn't he? Out in the street. I forgot about that.
Don't forget about that.
Man,
maybe senior night this year. Maybe. I mean. Dash their hopes.
Good old fashioned street fight.
To be fair, Colin, the last 2 years that USF has played, the last 3 years, really. Well, I guess 2 that USF's played Cincinnati, 2019 and 2020. 2019, USF should have won that game. Spencer Schrader missed like 14 and a half field goals that game, and now he's actually good. And then last year, I think there was 4 turnovers in the first 5 minutes. USF scored to go down 2 touchdowns early in that third quarter. They returned the punt they returned the ensuing kickoff for a touchdown, and it was curtains. So, I mean, they've played Cincinnati pretty close. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I mean, it's not 0, but it's not 1% either.
I think it's 0.
It's 0. It's actually it's -0. It's not just 0. It's like -0.
All right, man.
Spread on that one. I mean,
30.
34. I got 34, 35, somewhere in there. If I'm setting a number.
Here's my question to you, both of you, because I was not, really involved or really focusing on what happened previously. But looking forward, I don't think any of us would say that expansion, conference realignment, and conference expansion is done in college football. Correct?
Yes.
I think we all agree that it's going to continue.
Yes.
So going forward, now you may be kind of wandering in the desert for a few years, but going forward, if you're in a conference that you can win and win a lot of games in, does that set you up in the future when the next round of this realignment and stuff happens? Does that put you in a good position if you make the commitment to the program?
So in 2012, when the wheels on the bus started turning the last time, and we ended up in the AAC, the commitment to this, the words that we got from the school and the words that we got from athletic directors and everybody else was, well, we'll be prepared next time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next time is here and you still don't have a damn facility.
No.
And the next time is here and you've got no progress on a stadium. And the next time is here and you have invested zero fucking anything into this program. You have invested in your community. You have invested in the students to go support this program. You still don't have athletics showing up at orientations. You still have rush during opening weekend for football. The same goddamn mistakes you were making 10 and 12 years ago, you are making today. And you have done absolutely jack shit. And that's why you're here. Now, you just put a shovel in the ground in the facility, and that is massive. But that should have been done in 2013 when you get kicked out of a good league that had an automatic bid to the BCS, and now all of a sudden you don't. Then you start raising the money. Then you start investing in that facility. And 3 and 4 years later, you put the shovel in the ground in 2016. We're not having this conversation, you know?
Yeah, but that's a sunk. Right now, that's sunk. That's a sunk cost. You missed it.
But here's the thing. But you've sunk twice. But now you've sunk twice. So now, like, you've gone beyond sunk. You might be back below where you started in Conference USA in 2003. You might be below that because that league still had Louisville and Cincinnati in it in 2003. Now you don't even have that. So, like, have you crossed the Rubicon of no one's ever going to give a damn because we're playing CUSA 2.0 Sunbelt level, not above MAC, but below everything else that's out there?
Yeah. But I guess my question is, if there was, the issue in the past seems to be there was no commitment made. It seems, and I like I said, I was not around, so you guys have to tell me. It seems as if, at least publicly and verbally, people are putting their names on commitments. More so than it seems in the past.
100%.
Right?
Will Weatherford putting his name on it was the first time anybody's put their name on anything in this damn place in 20 years.
So that would lend to think that there is a much better opportunity at investment in the program this time around. And I'm sure seeing how it played out without doing it is going to play into it as well. They know this is last chance, right? So
no, they don't know it's last chance.
You don't think?
Because they keep saying no, they don't. I talked to I can't believe it. Sorry to the person who told me this story. I apologize. Someone told me that, and this is somebody who was connected at USF, who said, well, maybe the Pac-12 will take BYU and then we can just go to the Big 12. This was a realistic plan in their head. This is something that this person actually thought would happen.
Do you think
and
the big...
Get out of my... Like, these are the people in charge. Are you absolutely kidding me? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. BYU in the Pac-12, the most progressive conference in the country, is going to take the school that has all of this anti-gay, anti-student legislation. They're going to take the only private school outside of USA, the only private school in the league. That's going to happen. That's going to solve our problems. Get out of here.
Do you think the Big 12 has legs?
It's going to depend on TV, I think.
I think they'll be fine.
Does ESPN want them to have legs? Does Fox use that as like the leverage against the SEC deal? Maybe. I don't know. It's what the TV networks want. Like, that's where we're going here. It's all going to come down to TV. And then can you get other players involved? Can you get Netflix, Apple, Amazon, these other FANG companies to get involved? Like,
so
I think that's where
I'm going to throw out a very rosy, possibly naive, probably naive hypothetical.
Okay.
USF makes a commitment to the football program.
Okay.
They have the right people in place. They start winning games. They start winning at a pretty good, consistent level. Are they not one of the better candidates the next round if they make these commitments and have the results on the field?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the inherent advantages of USF are still 40-some thousand students, massive alumni base, good academics for a public, especially a public in the Southeast, and the 12th largest market in the country. I mean, those are really good natural. And by the way, 4 stars growing on trees. Yeah. So like, those are all really, really good. The natural assets of USF were what we always pitched in 2001, 2002, and 2003 when we were trying to get the Big East. Now that we just never took advantage of any of them. Yeah. We never leveraged them. We said, oh, we have all this stuff. We just never did anything with it. It's like we bought the construction material and left it on the lawn.
Yeah. Because all I hear and all I see, and obviously this is kind of right when it's happening. It's kind of people, it's, not necessarily prisoner of the moment, but, similar thought is just basically this is the death knell for the program. The program's dead is what it seems like you see people saying. To me, it seems like, and again, I'm not as plugged in with the past, but it's obviously a setback. But if you, and again, this is what I think, if you make the commitment going forward and you get the results, you could very well be in a good situation. You're just gonna have to wait for the next round now, but you have to put in the work, obviously. But
right, I think for that opinion, and it's valid because you weren't around.
No, I'm naive to
what happened before. So the people who were,
and I'm generally positive,
right? So the people who were here before and got burned are rightfully so very skeptical that they're actually going to invest in all of the things that they're going to say they're going to invest in. So from your perspective, yes, it makes a lot of sense. And it's just the sad reality is USF has scorned and tainted a lot of views of their stakeholders over the last decade, 15 years, really, of just incompetence across the board. And that's what they're going to have to fight against. That's what this new administration is going to be up against. And if they don't know that, then they're fucked. It's plain and simple.
Here's the thing. So I'm gonna take the negative point and the positive point. The negative point from Seth is like, I heard all this shit 10 years ago. Yeah. Oh, now we really care. Now we're really gonna do it. And we still never invested a damn dime into that football program or that facility. And our administration didn't make the commitments that were necessary. And so fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, whatever. Okay, fine. But on the other hand, like you said, Will Weatherspoon put his name on, we're building a stadium. Okay. That's never happened before. Yeah. The board has taken control of the university president process in a way publicly that they have not done so previously. I mean, they basically punted on a president, because they were like, well, what must be done inevitably should be done immediately. And they just say that this is a bad fit and we're just going to pull the plug.
Corral left because he wanted to spend time with his parents.
Okay, Batman.
Right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Loving son.
Yeah, loving son. Very loving son. Who will have tenure in the college business. And look, I had one conversation with the man. I actually talked longer to his wife than he did the entire time he was here. Maybe that's part of the problem. Because I go to a lot of shit, and the fact that I only ever talk to him once is probably not great. So I do think that the board is now committed to athletics in a way that they were not previously. The whole board. And I think that will change some things for the better. But now you got to prove it. Like, you've said it, I've talked, we've said this for years. Do it. Do it. Because I'm sick of hearing, oh, someday, oh, whatever. And meanwhile, we just slide and slide. And the only thing that's consistent is Jose. The only thing that we're consistently good at is women's basketball. That's it.
And softball.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Softball. I mean, golf won 6 out of 7 now, conference championship, something like that. 6 out of 8. Like they're really good too. Tennis, does good things. But in terms of like team sports, like that, I guess softball is a team sport now, isn't it? People actually do care about our softball team too. They draw pretty well. But on the whole, we just don't. We don't. And now you got to prove it. And I don't give anybody there the benefit of the doubt. Now you got to prove it to me. It's not fair to those folks. It's not fair to Michael Kelly that he inherited this absolute fire. It's pretty amazing that he got a shovel in the ground on that facility as quickly as he has, considering what the state of the program and how things are financially in the middle of a COVID pandemic. But they still got to prove it.
So you're kind of a fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you're not going to fool me again.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lied to so many times by this program. Like, I've been lied to this program on the record, in my mailbox, off the record, at my graduation ceremony, when I joined the athletic or the alumni association, when I joined the athletic department, when I was an employee. I mean, I've just been lied to this program like literally my entire adult life, and so why would I think that they would change now? I hope they do. I told Torello this. USF is like your meth head cousin who needs a place to crash on the couch. Like they keep coming back and you keep welcoming them in, and they're going to fail you over and over again. And that's sort of like my relationship with USF. They are my meth head cousin who's just trying to clean up his life for the 8th time.
So this new conference is like a intense rehab.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Hopefully this is like the 90-day program with like Betty Ford. That's kind of, yeah. Did we lose Nate? Is he just frozen there?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still here, right?
Yes, you're here.
You're here.
Oh, phew. I wanted you guys to kind of hash that out. Colin, is of the 6 teams that are being added, is there one that you're just, okay, this is great, and then one that you're like, oh dear God, we've got to travel to this city?
So like I would normally say UAB, because actually Nate and you and I went to Birmingham a few years ago.
Got very drunk in Birmingham.
We got very, very drunk in Birmingham, and there's a karaoke video to prove it. So I have no desire to ever go to Birmingham as a person ever again, but it seems like UAB is investing in that program, so I'm fine with it. The facility looks great. Obviously, the community really rallied around that team when it was on the chopping block and got them back good. I've been to Rice's Stadium. It holds 80,000 people, which is probably about 75,000 too many. There's just no base of anything there. Like, why do you football still? This isn't the Southwest Conference. They don't care. You talk about an administration that doesn't give a damn about sports. They're way worse than us. Denton, Jamie likes Denton. Jamie has good things to say about Denton. I've never been, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. But again, it's a market. They're trying to chase markets here. FAU market. I've always thought Boca has like the ceiling high level on that program is pretty high. I think their football facility is really good. That should be a model for what USF should build a nicer version of that as their stadium. Charlotte's a great emerging market. So yeah, I'm good with that. And then UTSA, like only game in town if you're in San Antonio, want to watch college football. And they're also ranked, and they've had put together some really good teams. So I don't know if they're planning. Is their plan to stay in the Alamo Dome, or are they trying to build a facility? I don't even know.
Oh, that's a great question. I would love to go to the Alamo Dome.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they draw okay. So, look, it's the best of a bad situation. And if you want to take the tack that we need to take these schools in and play a little bit of defense against the Mountain West and any other possible further expansions, and so we're going to grow in Texas a little bit. Okay, I get the tactics of that. But like the better situation is to be better at sports, USF, and then not be in this conference and be one of the teams that get called up instead of the guys you always call drillers down the street. The drillers down the street just sort of figured out a way, and they committed. They committed even when they in spots where they probably overcommitted and took some chances that were not fiscally responsible, and definitely got a little bit lucky, and covered up a lot of stuff and moved some stuff around, and $100 million here, $100 million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money that's like being misallocated. They took some chances and it worked out. So they gambled and won. We just never gambled, but it's not that we just didn't even gamble. It's that we just didn't care. We just didn't invest at all. But man,
so UTSA
showed up. But you had a president who showed up at football games with a USF football purse or a basketball game and sat there and watched the game. So clearly we were committed to athletics. I said that out loud again.
Whoops.
Am I live on the stream right now and just saying shit out loud again? Am I doing that again? Sorry.
Yeah.
We actually muted you about 30 minutes ago.
UTSA opened a $40 million football facility this year. And one of the opening lines from UTSA President Taylor Egme was, "Great universities have exceptional academic, research, and athletic enterprises." So, UTSA gets it. They opened a $40 million facility for football. It has 7,000 square feet of academic space, medicine center, 14,000 square feet of strength and conditioning space, big locker room, team position rooms, and 2 football fields. I mean, that's pretty damn good. They did it with private funds and a bond from the city of San Antonio. Now,
there you go.
I doubt
City of Tampa's going to bond. First of all, I don't think that's allowed in the state of Florida anyway. I don't think you can. I don't think you can do that on university land anyway. But yeah, that's what USF did. They floated a bond. They just did it through their foundation instead of the city. Yeah, like good for them. I'm fine with it. You're dealt this hand. You can either they're playing the hand that they have as best as they can, but from a USF perspective, the fact that this is the hand that you have is your own damn fault.
It's not great. So we've talked for 38 minutes, Colin, on this. I think we've talked about it enough for now. I think we're going to switch gears here, and we're going to discuss some actual football. Seth, the Bulls will face Temple on ESPN Plus on Saturday at 7 p.m. Temple comes into the game at 3-3. A pretty deceptive 3-3, if you don't mind me saying. They look pretty trash. Hey, Steeg, how are you?
Hi, guys. Did I miss anything? I've been unaware for the past couple days. So I'm assuming no other news this week aside from the obvious loss to Tulsa. So I'm just going to continue on in my innocent world and pile ahead forward.
So Steeg, I got back from Vegas on Friday, and Steeg came over to my house. So he heard all of these rants already. So don't worry, he didn't miss anything. As we went over to Epicurean over here and had a couple beverages with Jamie and some other friends while we were here. I'm going to let you guys go on football because I have certainly followed enough USF and Temple where I have thoughts. But right now, I will tell you that the spread is 2.5. It opened at 4. It is down to USF as a 2.5-point favorite, and the total is
53 or something.
50 at DK. The only sportsbook that matters, it's 55, but it opened 58. But all the money's coming in on Temple. 88% of the tickets, 90% of the money has bet on the Owls. I kind of like USF. I liked USF last week. They covered. I didn't win my money line bet, but they covered. I believe USF is now 4-2 ATS this year, somehow, miraculously.
Yes.
So
the only games they haven't covered was SMU and NC State.
Yeah, so they're 4-2 ATS. I think that they will probably win this week. There just tends to be this thing where against Temple, we're up there. We can't out-athlete them, and we can out-athlete them at home. And I think we'll do that this week. So go Bulls. But I'm going to let y'all go, and go Bulls.
Bye, Colin.
Thank you, Colin, for joining. He is the college sports editor at DK Nation. He helped start this stupid blog, and this is why you guys are stuck with us. So direct all your ire toward him. We're just the messengers at this point. But I appreciate, Colin, you coming on, and we'll be getting with you before I go to Vegas in November to hit the best spots and everything.
I will see y'all in 9 days at Irish 31 at Hyde Park.
Sounds good, brother. Appreciate it. And back to your regularly scheduled programming here. Seth, as I mentioned, Temple's coming into the game at 3-3, and a pretty damn deceptive 3-3, if you ask me. Am I off base there? It seems like they're kind of trash, and they've beaten pretty bad teams.
No, they're not very good. I'll go ahead and throw up the advanced stats here. There's a lot of red on both sides, but
Red's good, right?
It is not. Temple, you can see, is particularly so. Last week, Tulsa rather had some offensive success, some decent numbers on offense. Temple is not really the same. So I think you got a better matchup this week for the USF defense. And every week that goes by, you're hoping you get a few more guys healthy on that defense, and you can get a little bit better performance. Defensively, it appears they're okay. But like you said, their schedule has not been the most stout when they played a couple decent offenses like Cincinnati, I believe. They got a ton of points.
The vaunted Rutgers offense.
Yeah, they got a ton of points rolled on them whenever they played somebody with a pulse so far. So is their defense good? The numbers are good, but have they played anybody really great yet? Let's go through just so here's who they've played. Rutgers, one of the worst offenses in the country. And Rutgers ran for 220 yards and threw for 145 yards. Akron.
What was the final score there? Give the scores because it's funny.
They lost 14-61. Then the following week they played Akron, who is again one of the worst offenses in the country. Akron averaged 4.7 yards per play. They won that game 45-24. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over for you. That might be easier so everyone can see that. We'll go ahead and share that screen there. So everyone can see what we're working with here. So here's their defense here. It's kind of a little difficult to see, I suppose. But Boston College is a decent offense. I think they still their quarterback then lost 28-3. Boston College was kind of ho-hum. Didn't really have to do much. Yeah. Beat Wagner, who's a FCS team, I believe. It's not a great one. There's kind of your big performance there. They held them to 2.79 yards per play. That really took their numbers down. Then played Memphis, ended up winning that game, but Memphis averaged almost 6 yards a play. And then Cincinnati, the best offense they've played so far this year, averaged nearly 8.5 yards per play. And Temple lost to them 52-3. So I don't think this defense is quite as good as their numbers based on schedule. I think if they played USF schedule, the numbers would look probably similar to USF's numbers on that side of the ball. So this is, again, another game that's very winnable. Last week was a winnable game. We all said that. We didn't say it was a for sure win, but we all said it was winnable. And it was. You had a great chance to win the game. Didn't quite come through. This week is another one, another home game against a team that you should be able to beat at home. So another chance to get that first victory against a team that's just not that great.
Yeah, I think just for morale purposes, and I'll touch on this all night. You need to win this game. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a game you need to win. Okay, because outside of this Temple game, there's really not a game on the schedule where you're like, oh, USF will be favored in that game. They've got ECU on the road. They get Houston at home. They get Cincinnati at home. And then they go on the road for Tulane and Central Florida. Like, there's not a for sure win on the schedule the rest of the way. I mean, there really wasn't a for sure win after FAMU. But after last week's performance, decision-making aside, it was a very winnable game. I mean, all three of us were so far on this game that USF could beat Tulsa. And this is another one where USF should, could, and needs to beat Temple to just propel us in the right direction. And, Seth and Steeg, you both were in that post-game press conference with me on Saturday. What stood out to you? What was outside of maybe Brian Batty, I mean, he was, he had a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. He was still pretty down, but I mean, just the looks on Antonio Greer and Dwayne Boyle's face as they were waiting and then talking to the media. I mean, that's what kind of stuck out to me. What about you guys? Was there? I mean, damn.
I think when Dwayne Boyles got up to the mic for questions, and he kind of stood there for a second and waited for someone to say something. I've been in very tense rooms. That was probably one of the more tense situations. I mean, it was only 2 seconds maybe that we waited for. I think you asked him a question, Nate. And I mean, I think you asked that question because someone needed to get the ball rolling because no one wanted to say anything because you could see on their faces that the last thing that they wanted to do was to answer questions, albeit, easy questions, but that was not I hate the fact that we make these 18, 23-year-olds, answer questions like these and, have to respond to media after very emotional losses like this. Obviously after a huge win, it's one thing. After a tough loss, it's for lack of a better term, painful to be in the same room. And, you saw it on Coach Scott's, it's Coach Scott's voice, and you saw it on basically everyone's face the entire time. They didn't want to be there because that was not the best situation for them to be in. They answered all the questions and took it on the chin. And, I think the bigger kind of storyline is not the post-game press conference, but the press conference today seemed a little bit livelier as far as what Jeff Scott was saying the entire time. I think that 24-hour rule that Jeff Scott has in play, I think is really, good for the team. It seems like, it sucks that they lost, but it seems like the morale is not down. Vincent Davis kind of mentioned it very, very on the nose and said, hey, that loss sucked, but we're even hungrier now. We have reason to believe that we can win a game is I think what he's trying to get at. And, they're going to be even hungrier for a win after getting so close last time.
Yeah, I thought what was kind of interesting to me, and obviously you go into every game hoping you can win the game, but I thought what was interesting was Jeff Scott basically coming out and saying this is a game we thought we were going to win. He basically came out and said this is a game we really thought we were going to win coming into the game. We felt really good about it. So I think that kind of added to some of the frustration after the game. And then with regards to the players, these guys, Antonio Greer, first of all, his voice was about out. You could tell from yelling and screaming on the field and giving signals and communicating. So his voice was almost gone. And then they both just looked so down in the dumps when they came in, really frustrated, obviously, but more sullen and more sad. And you kind of get to see, when you're in there, you get to see more of the human element of these teams that especially in football, a lot of the emotion is hidden behind the helmets and things like that. And there's all kinds of people on the sidelines. So you don't really get to see these guys in the moment. I think you saw on the field after the game, a lot of these guys were really obviously devastated by not being able to pull it out. So you kind of, when they come into these press conferences, which first of all is tough, and you have to really commend these guys for coming in there and answering questions when, they got people shouting at them and these people wouldn't answer questions. They wouldn't stand up and kind of take responsibility like these guys have to. So just seeing them come in there and kind of answer questions, and they answer questions thoughtfully, even with with all the obviously the sadness and frustration, but you have to commend them for that. But they're obviously feel like they're close, and they really felt like this was one they let slip away, is how it seemed. And it really seems they just kind of want to get that first one and get it off their back, and then once they go there, they can play a little bit more loose. But I think they're really, really, really were hoping that was it, and then they could be a little bit more loose as the season went on. But it's still kind of hanging over their heads now, unfortunately.
It also didn't help that one of the Tulsa support staff members was literally right outside. Like, Tulsa's locker room was right outside of where the media post-game press conference was. One of the Tulsa staff members was she was just cheering her little heart every single time one of the players walked out of the locker room. And I think at one point, I think it was Greer kind of like death glared at the door and death glared towards a certain someone to close the door even harder so that you couldn't hear this woman cheering outside of the doors.
Yeah. That was not great. Now, I really do hate to be this guy here, but we've talked about over the last couple of years here of getting punched in the face and responding. Now, I think there's a difference between getting punched in the face at NC State and responding and having a good second half against Florida, and then there's getting punched in the face and then on your way down also getting kneed in the nuts, and that's what Tulsa was. So it's trying to figure out how this team will respond to such a loss like this. The players and coaching staff, they can all say the things like, hey, 24-hour rule, and we're turning it right back around. But you get a quiet moment, on the field where you're waiting for your rep, or you're soaking, you're getting treatment. It's gonna creep into your head. Like, there's no two ways around it. Like, these people are human. Like, the coaching staff's human, the players are human. It's gonna come and creep back in. The thing you hope is that they learn from it, and it doesn't my bosses at my job like to say, like, don't let the bad things kind of black you out and then just kind of ruin the rest of your day. And this Tulsa game really has all the makings of something that kind of blacks out the team for the rest of the season, if not just for this 1 week where you're really kind of supposed to win this game. How do you, Seth, how do you kind of compensate for that, where you lose this game, you really got punched in the face and you've got to respond quickly, otherwise this Tulsa loss is going to turn into 3 losses in 14 days because they play again next Thursday.
Yeah, I think in my experience. So when I was coaching in college at Tusculum, we came in the first year. So it was like the first year, whole new coaching staff. We really struggled out the gate with the team, kind of understanding what players did well, and then maybe there were guys that we thought were going to play a lot for us that ended up not playing as much, and just all that kind of feeling out. And we were playing some teams that are a little more talented than us as well, but the players really took cues from the coaches. So what we did a good job there of is staying positive, staying upbeat, just moving on. After you review the film, move on to the next game, move on to the next play, move on to the next game plan, and really emphasize that kind of stuff. And so I think the players will take the cues from the coaches. If the coaches, and I don't think they will, because it's a pretty young group, and then a lot of these guys grew up in football families and football environments, so I don't think they're going to sulk. They're kind of used to that mentality of just going to the next game. Don't let a team beat you twice, that kind of those cliches. But they'll take the cues from the coaching staff. So if the coaching staff comes out and gets them ready to play this week, I don't think you're going to see too much of a hangover. But it's natural to do that. But if the staff just keeps pushing them forward, keeps the energy high, make sure the energy's high in practice, doesn't let them soak, doesn't really give them opportunities to kind of sit and think, as you mentioned. Just keep it moving, fast-paced, install the next thing, go, go, go. That can kind of take their mind off of anything in the past, and you just keep looking forward. And we were able by the end of the year to start stringing some wins together. We beat a team that won the conference the year before that we had no business beating. And then you end the year on a pretty good note. So I think they're kind of in a similar situation. It's tough, but you just got to keep pushing, and the coaches really have to lead that. So the coaches have to really stay positive, really keep pushing the team forward. And if they do that, I think you'll see them kind of avoid any type of hangover. But, every week you lose again, it gets tougher and tougher to do that because, like you said, it's just human nature. But hopefully this is the week they get that first win, and then some of that pressure will dissipate. But this is something that I think the coaches can lead by example and kind of set the tone for how this next week is going to go in practice and on the game field.
Yeah, and looking closer into Temple, they're. I mean, we've talked about it already. They're really bad, and they're really bad in the first quarter. They've been outscored 60-7 in the first quarter of this season. So it's pretty imperative for USF to go out to a fast start. Seth, I think you saw the shock on my face when USF they won the toss and took the ball.
Yeah,
and they went down and the drive stalled, but they got a field goal out of it. And that's something we didn't see earlier this year. That aggressiveness and that aggressiveness kind of came back to bite USF at the end there. The 4th and 11 fake field goal. Maybe you just kick the field goal there. The back-to-back Wildcat formations that we're going to touch on. We touch on Tulsa, but we're going to really break down Tulsa tomorrow on our film room session. So I don't want to get bogged down in that. But, Jeff Scott said he's going to go down swinging. And I mean, that's really what he did. We can nitpick the decisions, as much as we want. But he at least went for the win. I think, similar to, Buffalo last night, Monday Night Football, going for it on 4th and 1 when you're down a field goal, knowing that your defense hasn't stopped Derrick Henry or anybody, remotely close to that all night. So it's that kind of aggressiveness that will get you burned sometimes. USF got burned by it. And it's, we always say that context matters in these games. And, I think fine being, subjective, it was fine that USF lost, but how they lost was probably why a lot of people left with a really sour taste on Saturday. And I completely understand it. I did too. It was frustrating all around. We knew this was a very winnable game. The team knew it was a winnable game, and just to let it slip through their hands, it's just frustrating. But to really kind of harp in and focus on Temple here again, their first half is pretty trash. They're bad in the fourth quarter as well. But here's what I'll say: Temple again. It's just another team. I'm just going to harp on these points. I think this is just going to be my talking points all year because it seems to be a reoccurring theme. Temple is awful in the red zone. They're 15 of 17 in the red zone, which is fine. They're getting points, but they're 10 of 17 scoring touchdowns, which is 59%, which is not great. And then on the flip side, defensively, opposing teams have had 10 more red zone possessions than they have this year. And they're 24 of 27, and 20 of those 27 red zone attempts have been touchdowns. And then their third down and fourth down percentages are atrocious as well. They're 31% from on third down, and then they're 7 of 15 on fourth. On the flip side, they're allowing 40% of third down percentages, and then they're opponents have gone for it on fourth down. Like, that is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, they're you can see here on the advanced stats. So like what Nate's talking about is finishing drives is this stat that's called points per equal. That's basically like how many points you get per drive you get inside the 40. or have an explosive touchdown even counts in here. And they're at less than a field goal in terms of drives that get inside the 40. So when they get inside the 40 and they get into that scoring range, they're averaging less than a field goal on offense. So they're not great at finishing drives. USF's a little bit better, averaging just above a field goal. But this is going to be another week, like Nate said, and what he's been saying all year is who's going to finish drives in the red zone, who's going to get drives in the red zone. Last week, USF did a decent job of finishing once they got in the red zone, but I believe they only got there twice, right? And I believe Tulsa had 5 red zone possessions, scored on all of them. They got held to a field goal on 3 of them, but they scored on every single one and had 5 of them. So that's going to be the key, kind of getting in the red zone and then finishing drives. And it seems like something that is doable against this Temple team, especially being at home.
Yeah, and just looking some of the, stat leaders, I guess, for Temple's offense, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's pretty atrocious if we're being perfectly honest. Edward Sadie leads the team in rushing with 191 yards. He's averaging 3.9 yards per rush with 1 score. They don't have a rush over 40 yards this year. And then DeJuan Mathis, who's a Georgia transfer, he's a redshirt freshman. He's completing 61% of his passes. He's thrown for 884 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He missed 2 games, and his backup, Justin Lynch, who's, I believe, a true freshman, completed 68% of his passes, 446 through the air, 2 touchdowns and a pick. So, I mean, fairly accurate. They don't turn the ball over too much. I mean, 3 interceptions between them is pretty good. They've lost, 3 fumbles. They don't turn the ball over, but that's what Tulsa was kind of. That's what they kind of did. They turned the ball over quite a bit in those losses, and that's why we thought, okay, if you can get them to turn the ball over, you have a really good shot to win, and they did. They turned them over 3 times in the second quarter and built a 14-point lead out of it. With Temple, you've got to create some havoc here, and get them behind the chains. I don't think this team has the playmakers, truly across the board. Jaden Blue's still pretty good. Jose Barbon, 26 catches, 325 yards, at a touchdown. And then Jaden has 20 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown as well. But, I mean, he's averaging 5.7 yards per catch, which is pretty bad.
It's not great.
It's not ideal.
Actually.
That's actually you got to try really hard to have 20 catches and average 5.7 yards per catch.
Yeah. I think it's a log of 62. So I think that's actually all a small they're getting him on out routes and screens and stuff like that.
His long is 30. His long is 32 yards. So he's 19 catches for 80 yards. 81 yards,
so closer to 4 yards catch.
You have to try really, really, really hard to do that.
That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a week.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if there's a week where I think the defense might get a little bit healthier. Hopefully, Christian Williams can play, but a week that I think your defense can get a little bit more confident. I think this is it. I think linebacker play was obviously been a strength of this defense so far this year. I think Dwayne Boyles, Demaris Bellamy, and Antonio Rivera have played fantastic this year across the board. Your defensive line has played up and down. I wouldn't say that they're playing terribly, but I think also schematically, they're not exactly playing to the best of their strengths at times. And then your secondary, which is, injury depleted and playing freshmen and players that have not had a lot of experience. If there's a week that you can start gaining some confidence, this might be it. I think if you can get a full healthy secondary here, full healthy secondary, Will Jones is playing. Yeah, I think no doubt about it. Seth would probably win this game, but I think with all these injuries and uncertainties going on with the secondary, I think you still have a few question marks just because Jaden Blue can still be explosive. We saw it last year. Jose Barbon has been explosive this year. it's not like Temple's totally lacking the talent. We're not playing a Pop Warner team, but I think this is the week where you can kind of say, all right, Matt Hill, all right, TJ Robinson, these guys that are in their first year playing, like getting some really extensive playing time, like this is your time to grow some cojones and play well, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think you're going to see the same level of skill position talent this week that you saw from Tulsa. That's one thing we emphasized before the game, that even though Tulsa hadn't been unbelievable offensively, they did have some talented skill players. So that puts some stress on the defense. I don't think this Temple group is quite as talented as what Tulsa had at the skill position. Tulsa had a couple backs that were really good, and then at least 3 receivers that were pretty good players. So I don't think you're going to get that same stress level you got last week. DeJuan Mathis has a good pedigree. You said he transferred from Georgia. He was actually their starting quarterback in the first game last year. So without JT Daniels being hurt, but he initially started over Stetson Bennett at Georgia last year. But he had problems with accuracy, especially with pressure. So all the numbers you're kind of saying about their offense makes me think they're probably a quick passing game, short throws, easy throws, probably not a ton down the field. So that would be something that hopefully, USF's got to rally and tackle to short throws. And this should be a better matchup, probably the best matchup for the defense this year outside of FAMU. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Temple has anyone who's going to take the top off the defense, and that's been an issue. In most of the games this year. I think Gunner or Baylor, Romney, which one of the Romneys is the wide receiver is still running.
Baylor, I think. Yeah.
And
Jake, it's.
Baylor.
And the other thing, you're kind of breaking up a little bit, but I think, and the other thing is, I think most other teams had multiple guys that you had to really worry about. I don't know if Blue's a pretty good player, but outside of him, I don't know if they have a guy you really have to worry about outside. So that could help you too. So you don't have to worry about multiple guys beating you. You can kind of focus more on one.
I know in the past, typically with Temple, you kind of look at their single-digit players are the ones that you have to worry about. For lack of a better term, I think that's been a Temple tradition for God knows how long. And on offense, you really have Jaden Blue and Randall Jones are your 2 single-digit players. So, take that for what it is. I think in the past, Temple usually has about 3 to 4 players on offense. They give usually their offensive line honorary single digits. Well, it's just you and I, Seth. But they usually give their offensive linemen single digits as like an honorary thing as well.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty good. I mean, Temple doesn't shy away from the idea of, hey, we're going to show you who our best players are. And it's Jaden Blue. And it is Randall Jones this year on offense. Defensively, we're looking at I had to look it up because I didn't really believe it. They don't really have – they're starting like 5 freshmen, like true freshmen in their secondary this year. And their leading tackler and their best player and their defensive captain, Amir Tyler, he's out. That's he's their single digit on defense. He's kind of been all over the field for them. He has 3 tackles for a loss and like 40-something tackles. So you're down one of Temple's best players. And then you also have to look out for William Quinkeo, who's a Mike linebacker from them. But ultimately, you're looking at a defense that is set up kind of similar to how USF is. A lot of true freshmen, a lot of young guys, not a lot of experience. In the secondary, a pretty experienced defensive line that's been relatively ineffective. So, I love the matchup like 2 years ago. Like I'd be so confident going into this game that we would sleepwalk over them, but I can't really, discount them because I look at their defense and I'm like, oh wow, look at all these young guys playing, and it's like, oh wow, we have a lot of young guys playing too. So I don't know. If Andy Rigby is one of their like off linebackers / hybrid safeties, and he's back and healthy after missing their previous games, so I mean, they're getting some guys back. They lost a few guys. One of their main defensive tackles who was rotating in, Nick Maggs, he transferred, so he's out. So, I mean, the defense is just as depleted as the offense is as far as talent goes. So, who knows how this game's going to end up. Really, defensively, you only have to scheme up for, William Quinkeo, and that's it.
I'm going to put my name on it right now. Tim McLean is going to light up Temple. He's going to throw 4 touchdown passes on Saturday night. Jeremy Mangum's going to have another 2. He's going to have a touchdown of longer than 10 yards for the first time in his USF career on Saturday. That is my prediction. And before we get into the actual predictions, I think we'll cover Temple more. But before we get into the predictions, I want to just shout out women's basketball real quick. It looks like if we go over an hour, my internet's like, bro, calm down. So we gotta kind of wrap this up real quick. Women's basketball ranked 21st in the AP top 25 preseason poll. Obviously, woefully underranked. I think they're a top 15 team with the people that they return and the new additions. I mean, they poached 2 starters from Memphis. They got a couple of other JUCO people, freshmen. I mean, Jose's doing what Jose does. Also, even if they finish 21st, at the end of the year and they get seeded in the NCAA tournament, they'll still be like a 9 seed. So it doesn't really matter at this point. We know what it is. Women's soccer with a huge upset win, I guess, if you want to call it that, over number 14 Memphis, 1-0 double overtime. It's their 7th overtime game this year, and now they're back ranked. Men's golf continues to absolutely crush. Their top 10 program. So some good stuff going on. Heard some scuttlebutt about men's basketball that I can't share. But they're still a work in progress. That much I can say. They're still a work in progress. They still got some time to work out everything. But I think that's it. Let's get to the predictions. USF Temple, 7 p.m. ESPN Plus. Inside Ray J. I get it, folks. After last week, you got a sour taste. Go to the stadium. Go have some fun. Go tailgate. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the cooler weather. It'll be nice. I may have to bring a light jacket for Saturday night. It'll be fun. It'll be fine. Why not? Seth, let's start with you. Your prediction for this game. The line's settled at for now. It's at 2.5. USF minus 2.5. The line's 56.5 ish, or the over unders 56.5 ish. What's your prediction here?
I think Vegas is underrating how poor both these defenses might be. So I'm going to go with let's go 34-31 to the USF Bulls.
Okay. I am going to go 45-20 USF.
Ooh.
I think this is the game that they just absolutely blow the doors off this team and turn the corner. And I can't wait to be vindicated and or kicked in the nuts. It just really depends on what happens in the 3 hours. But this is, if all they're saying is true, if the players are saying 24 hours, we're moving past it, but we're not going to forget about it. This is the Prove it. Show me that you got punched in the nuts real hard last Saturday, and you're using this as motivation, and you're gonna stomp out the one of the worst teams left on your schedule. Prove it to me. I'll put my money on this. 45-20 USF. Do something with that. Timmy's gonna have a great game. He's had back-to-back pretty rough games. If we're being honest, he rights the ship on Saturday. Jaron Mangum scores a couple of tutties. It's gonna be a good game. Let's go, Steeg. What you got?
I got a few things. No, but so I was thinking about this long and hard. And in fact, when I was watching Little Shop of Horrors the other day, I got inspired. You know, the Audrey 2 kind of spoke to me on something, and it said the famous line that Audrey 2 speaks is "Feed me," you know, feed me. They're hungry and they want it. But he also says, Steeg, stop with these stupid ass predictions and give real ones, which is what I did. And I gave Seth a real prediction the week before the Tulsa game. And it was actually, I'm going to give myself credit on this. I was pretty close. I said Tulsa would beat us like 35-27. Seth can verify the fact that I texted him that. And so I got inspired by Little Shop of Horrors. No longer am I going to give these stupid ass predictions. We're going to go with real predictions. And I'm going to put real kind of emphasis behind it. Ultimately, yeah, there it is, 35-27. It's there. I'm going to start with a prediction that USF is going to win. If USF doesn't win, I'll do the beer mile. We'll head up and have a little fun live show. We'll do the beer mile up at USF. It'll be quite the show. For those who don't know it, you drink a beer every quarter mile. So one lap around, first lap, chug a beer, so forth and so forth. I am that confident that I'm willing to put my body on the line in this situation. But the prediction itself, USF wins 34-21. We're done with stupid predictions, Nate. We're done.
I'm flabbergasted.
We're done. We're gonna get real serious here.
I mean, to be fair, your outlandish predictions haven't worked, so maybe go for real, and we'll go from there.
I think my favorite part about the game was at 24-10. I messaged the group chat and I said, "Just saying, 55-10 is on the table." And then Jimmy Horn right after fumbled that kickoff, and I immediately said, "Never mind, it is on the board now."
I think underrated point here. Now, first of all, two things. Steeg says,
"Well, folks, this has been a."
Oh.
He's bugged out. Seth, go on now before you lose your shot.
All right. Underrated point. Steeg said he's not going to be ridiculous anymore. In back-to-back weeks has claimed that his prediction has come from different movie musicals. So I appreciate that. The second one, the other underrated point, if Timmy McClain plays well, this could be a game. He has not played well the last 2 weeks. If he had played well a little bit better last week, they probably win easily. So if he does play well, to Nathan's point, they've got a good chance to really put on some points this week. So
keep it nice and easy with him. I know Weiss is a smart guy. I know Scott's a smart guy. Start him off easy, quick little hitch routes, RPOs, get him in the groove, then try to uncork it. I think they went to try to uncork it a little too quickly, but that's just my sort of speak.
Yeah, I think Nathan's frozen. So this has been the Bulluminati podcast brought to you by Irish 31. Steeg, tell them about Irish 31.
It's a fantastic establishment. It is my go-to drinking well to partake in a few after-work beverages, particularly Friday beers. Cannot beat an Irish 31 Friday beer after work. It is by far the best place to go. There are multiple locations. I can't remember. I know Data said it. I think it's either 6 or 7 The Hyde Park one, that's the one that I'll be at. It's the one I'm normally at anyways. There's one at the West Shore Plaza. There's one at Oviedo, Seminole.
Sarasota?
Probably one in Sarasota. Dunedin. There's multiple. They're great locations, great food, great beers, great drink specials too.
Yeah.
The watch part. Oh, it's back. Thank God, because I was fumbling.
I know.
Steve was just telling them how great Irish 31 is.
Oh, good. Yeah, so Irish 31 for all of your USF needs this coming game day. Go there before the game and then head down to the stadium. And then Thursday, October 28th for the ECU game, we will be having a watch party. The Daily Stampede annual watch party. We didn't have it last year, so we're gonna try to do it big this year. Come out to the Hyde Park location. There's gonna be one in Seminole for the folks who can't make it up to the Hyde Park location as well. Be sure to check them out. They're great folks. Just go patronize. I guess.
Yeah.
That seems weird. Patronize those locations. Steeg, I think you hit all of them. West Chase, West Shore, Wesley Chapel, Seminole, Oviedo, and the like. But for all the glitches, for Seth, for Steeg, for Colin Sherwin coming on and talking conference realignment, this is Nathan signing off for another edition of the Bulluminati podcast, proudly presented by Irish 31. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Oof.